Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Today, the Middle East and the world waiting to see how Israel will respond after Iran's massive missile barrage on the Jewish state Tuesday. We'll bring you a look at what the attack was like for Israelis who went through it. Also, the Middle East, one of the key topics under discussion as the vice presidential candidates met for their only debate. We'll hear what they had to say about that and other important issues in this year's election. And the death toll still climbing in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene as CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground ministering to those in need. And she's known as comedy's Queen of Clean. Our conversation with comedian Chonda Pierce about her book, Life is Funny Until It's Not. Those stories and more today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin in the Middle East as Iran and the rest of the world are waiting to see what and when Israel's response will be to the massive Iranian missile attack on Tuesday evening that kept Israelis across the country huddled in shelters for nearly an hour. And today, more fierce fighting along Israel's northern border. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Iran hurled 181 ballistic missiles at Israel, creating terrifying visions in the skies all over the country.
Certainly this was a significant attack, probably about twice the size in terms of scope of what we saw earlier.
Almost 10 million Israelis were forced to scramble to shelters and hunker down. The barrage was aimed at 3 Israeli military bases and Mossad headquarters, but the missiles came streaking down at civilian populations from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. Israel intercepted most of the rockets, but some hit. One killed a Palestinian in Jericho, the only fatality. Another hit a Chabad school in Gadara, resulting in extensive damage, but no students were harmed. The head of the school, which has 400 students, was quoted as saying, "Just to think that a few hours ago there were hundreds of students there learning about Rosh Hashanah. A huge miracle happened to us." Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised America for warning Israel in advance of the attack and shooting down a dozen of the incoming missiles.
I also thank the United States for its support in our defense effort.
Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei reportedly ordered the strike in retaliation for Israel's decimation of Hezbollah and the assassinations of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh. Khamenei is in a secure location as Israel vows to strike back.
Iran made a big mistake tonight, and it will pay for it. The regime in Iran does not understand our determination to defend ourselves and our determination to retaliate against our enemies.
The White House not only expects a strong response, it's suggesting America will help.
Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel.
We have made clear that there will be consequences, severe consequences for this attack, and we will work with Israel to make that the case.
In a message posted on X, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett argued, Israel has now its greatest opportunity in 50 years to change the face of the Middle East. We must act now to destroy Iran's nuclear program, its central energy facilities, and to fatally cripple this terrorist regime. Iran, however, is warning it will respond with a larger attack to any Israeli retaliation. About a half hour before the Iranian barrage, Palestinians carried out one of the worst terror attacks inside Israel in recent years. Terrorists from Hebron opened fire on the Tel Aviv light rail and then went on a shooting and stabbing spree in Tel Aviv, murdering 7 Israelis. And on Wednesday, Hezbollah continued to launch rockets at northern Israeli communities, while Israel continued with its targeted raids on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Julie. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now. Chris, great to see you today. Tell us what you went through during this Iranian missile attack last night.
Well, Wendy, I was just like one of the millions of Israelis that went into a shelter. I was on my way to get some food, and everybody else was probably on their own errands at the night. I was driving up one of the main roads in Jerusalem. Literally dozens of people were streaming into one of the main hotels here there in Jerusalem. and everybody just sheltered in place. This particular hotel, you went down one floor, and that was their equivalent of a bomb shelter. And then we stayed there for probably an hour. And as we did a YouTube Live, so people can watch that, actually, again, experience what it was like. But it can be a very, very dangerous time and a very disconcerting time, obviously, when you don't know when these missiles are going to come and if they're actually going to hit like they did in a few places.
So you were in Jerusalem. Could you actually see what was happening in the sky overhead?
Well, there's plenty of video of missiles in the sky over Jerusalem. I didn't particularly get to see them. I was in that hotel, but a lot of people shot video all over social media. And actually, Wendy, it almost looked like a highway of these missiles going and then obviously getting intercepted by one of the three anti-missile systems that Israel has, the Arrow missile system, David Sling, or the Iron Dome. But you could just see that all over Israel with these kind of videos of what actually was taking place.
Yeah, and we know this was a different kind of attack than what we saw in the spring by Iran. How serious was this attack? How powerful were these missiles? And how well did Israel do with defending?
Well, they defended exceptionally well. And also Britain played a part, as well as the United States. These missiles are very powerful, Wendy. If they hit, they're going to do a damage to a building, a city block. And thankfully, most of them were shot down. And but also another part of the danger is that when the debris falls down from these missiles, they can be very deadly as well.
Chris, what's the thinking now about how Israel might respond, and how will the U.S. possibly get involved?
Well, it's interesting to see how the U.S. is getting involved. You heard Jake Sullivan make that statement, as well as the Pentagon. I don't know exactly how they're going to respond, but I would say, Wendy, this is a different time as it was back on April 13th when Iran fired 350 projectiles. I think that right now Israel is going to respond forcefully after all the all the efforts they made against Hezbollah. I think there's a whole different atmosphere, and I think Israel's on the verge of doing something major.
Chris, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and others have suggested that Israel might now go after Iran's nuclear program. How likely do you think that is?
I think that it's very likely, Wendy. I think that there was a debate within Iran's leadership. Do we respond to what happened to Nasrallah, or do we kind of play it cool? And I think maybe the cooler heads did not prevail. I think this gives Israel an opportunity to strike those two things. The first one would be the nuclear facilities. The other thing is there's oil facilities, which is where Iran gets most of its funding and money. So I think they really can cripple Iran. And this is, as Naftali Bennett said, maybe a golden opportunity to really strike back at Iran.
And miraculously, really, there were no casualties. But how serious was this terrorist attack in the Tel Aviv area yesterday?
Wendy, it was awful. I mean, it was just a slaughter of not only a mother, a 33-year-old mother, but about 6 people were killed before they could eliminate the 2 attackers. It was awful. And just a reminder of what Israelis go through on a daily basis, or could they go through on a daily basis, these kind of random terror attacks that are very, very hard to prevent.
Right. So, yes, you're talking about the shooting, and we did see, like you said, fatalities, but thankfully no fatalities from the barrage of bombs.
That's right.
But Hezbollah is keeping up its attacks in the north. How long are Israel's ground and air assaults expected to continue fighting them in northern Israel?
Well, it's really an open-ended question, Wendy. Israel has really degraded Hezbollah significantly and dramatically in the last 2 to 3 weeks. How long this ground campaign is going to go, they do have the idea of taking all the way from the blue line, the Israeli-Lebanese border, to the Litani River, create a security zone so the residents of the north can go back. How long that will take remains to be seen, but we know the boots are on the ground right now, and this is what is necessary to really take back this land, eliminate this rocket attack that's been going on nearly a year. Remember, there was a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel on October 7th. And then Hezbollah joined what Hamas did on October 7th, the very next day on October 8th. We'll just see how long it takes. It could be a few weeks, could be a month. But I think that Israel is determined and resolved to make sure that Hezbollah is no longer a threat to Israel.
Interesting times indeed, and we continue to pray for you and the team and for Israel. Chris Mitchell, thanks so much for your great reporting. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Coming up here at home, the conflict between Israel and Iran was on the table as the vice presidential candidates took the stage last night for their first and only debate of this election campaign. We'll bring you a look at what they had to say when we come back. Did you watch the debate last night? Both vice presidential candidates took the debate stage in New York Tuesday night. Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Walz kept it cordial as they pushed their presidential candidate as the one to choose in November. CBN's chief political analyst David Brody has more.
What was billed as an open mic brawl turned instead into a relatively respectful and thoughtful debate. Tim Walz appeared to have opening jitters and misspoke when asked about the current situation between Iran and Israel.
Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental.
Eventually, he got around to blaming the former president for the current mess in the Middle East.
So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership.
J.D. Vance turned it around to the ones now in charge.
And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration.
On Americans' #1 issue, the economy, Walz again went retro, pointing to Trump's record as president.
He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top class. What happened there was an $8 trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever.
Vance quickly responded with a comeback about how people are suffering today.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you've simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record.
One of the more animated exchanges came on the abortion issue when Vance challenged Walz on a controversial bill that he championed just last year.
The statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think, whether you're pro-choice or pro-abortion, that is fundamentally barbaric. And
Vance was on his game all night long. As for Walz, he ran into trouble by misspeaking when asked about changing his position on gun control. He said he became friends with school shooters.
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters.
And he also got called out online about saying he was in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests back in 1989 when he wasn't.
But I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric.
Walz did try and end strong, bringing up the contested 2020 election in order to paint Trump and Vance as a threat to democracy.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
As for answers as to who might win this upcoming presidential election, however, tonight's VP debate didn't seem to settle anything at all. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
It was fun to watch. Thanks, David. Still ahead, with hundreds still missing in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene's devastation, CBN's Operation Blessing is there on the scene ministering to those in need. We'll bring you that story and more right after this. The death toll from Hurricane Helene is still climbing. Now more than 160 people are feared dead, with hundreds still missing, and it's likely to be one of the costliest storms in U.S. history, with damage estimates that could go as high as $35 billion. President Biden will survey the devastation in North and South Carolina today. Many residents in both states are still without running water, still without cell service and electricity.
Would you have power and water?
No water. I've been told it'll be another week for the electricity, another 2 weeks for the water.
Incredible. Operation Blessings International Disaster Relief is in Western North Carolina. They're distributing water, emergency meals, hygiene kits from their base of operations in Asheville, and of course praying for people in need. If you would like to support Operation Blessing as it helps those hit by Helene, you can call 1-800-700-7000, 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to Operation Blessing's website. That's ob.org. And coming up, we're going to shift gears and bring you some humor. I think we all need it. From the Queen of Clean, comedian Chonda Pierce. She spoke with CBN's Ephraim Graham about her latest book, Life is Funny Until It's Not. We'll hear from her when we come back. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Chonda Pierce is known as comedy's Queen of Clean. The stand-up comedian is also an actress and author whose newest book is a memoir titled Life is Funny Until It's Not. Ephraim Graham sat down with Chonda to talk more about it.
I did get all dressed up for this, and it took 3 fairy godmothers to fit this dress.
Life is funny until it's not. A comic story of love, loss, and lunacy. Where's the lunacy part?
Right now, today. That's exactly right. You know, I think the lunacy has been there 24/7 always. But the loss and the laughter comes and goes. You know, but it is it's very much just life.
And people say weird stuff to you when they find out that you've lost your husband, and when you're a widow, they'll go like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear you lost your husband." Which I think sounds very irresponsible.
You've shared your struggles of love, loss previously, but we learned a lot of new things. I'll talk specifically about family secrets in that chapter where you're sharing abuse that you didn't think you suffered.
For me, I remember, when you open the wound, this sounds like a gross thing, but when you open a wound to disinfect it, to clean the wound, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's painful. There's things you find out about yourself that I go, oh, that's why I react like I do. That's why I don't trust people very well. That's why it took me so long to trust a loving God, is because my view of fatherhood was so distorted, and that's why I think counseling is so imperative.
What was the process like for you writing this book and being so raw and real?
It was hard. Now, I've worked on this for a while. I think there are times when you tell all, there needs to be an appropriateness to it. And that is, a lot of those people have passed now. I didn't write it, until my father had passed, because it's just not time,
One of the things you say, and I wrote this down so I got it right, is tragedy plus time equals comedy. Comedy plus time equals relief.
Right.
What do you mean?
I have used comedy sometimes to deflect pain. I used to tell a story about little old ladies at church, and one of them, said I wasn't very pretty, and I turned around and said, no, but I'm real SMART. And I remember telling that in a way, just hoping those little old ladies see that on TV sometimes.
Yeah. As a little skinny, knobby-headed kid with white hair, I skipped over to my mother real quick and said, those 2 ladies said I'm not very pretty. Do you think I'm pretty, Mama?
When you add time to your comedy, it becomes a great, beautiful release and a relief, rather than used in a tough way. Now, I still dance on the edges, Mama says. I loved my 32 years. I have argued with God. How come I can't go get a Netflix special? Why am I going to get HBO? I want to be Ellen and have my own show, you know. And I lament constantly. And at the same time, boy, God did me a favor.
And I looked in the mirror, and there it was. I am the miracle.
Ah, she's great. Love listening to her. And again, Chonda Pierce's book is called Life is Funny Until It's Not. It's available wherever books are sold. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen today. You can email us at newswatch@cbn.com. Reach out on Facebook, Instagram, or X, which was formerly known as Twitter. We hope you have a great day. God bless you.